Thank you, Mr President. I seek leave to make a brief explanation before addressing a question without notice to the Treasurer on the topic of Sky City Adelaide.
Is leave granted? Leave is granted. The Honourable Simms.
Thank you. Yesterday, it came to light that Australia's financial regulator, AUSTRAC, had launched an investigation into potential serious non-compliance by Sky City Adelaide with anti-money laundering and counter-terror financial rules. 7 years ago, Sky City Adelaide signed an agreement with the state government to vary the approved licensing agreement to allow for the massive expansion of its operations that we currently see, which included a requirement to make an upfront payment of $20 million to the SA government when the agreement became binding. My question to the Treasurer is, in light of the potential serious non-compliance of Sky City Adelaide with anti-money laundering and counter-terror financing rules, is the government concerned about the source of the $20 million upfront payment that was made 7 years ago?
Treasurer has the call.
Mr President, I guess that question is probably more appropriately addressed to the Leader of the Opposition in the Labor Party, because I'm sure the member knows that sadly 7 years ago we were languishing in opposition, part of a long history of 16 years of being in opposition. So the Honourable Mr Hunter and the Honourable Mr Maher, Mr President, and former Treasurers would be people who subscribe to those particular arrangements with the casino. So I think the question is probably best directed to them in relation to the detail of that particular arrangement or deal to which the honourable member refers. But in relation to the overridingly important aspect of the member's question, and that is there have been clearly serious claims made, or not claims I should say, Mr President. I think that there is now an indication that AUSTRAC, which is the appropriate agency with responsibility for investigating anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism financing breaches, is conducting an investigation into aspects of Sky City's operations. And I know that other honourable members have raised this issue before. Certainly from the state's viewpoint, the Commissioner for Business and Consumer Affairs has made it clear that he's now put his review on hold after discussions with AUSTRAC on the basis that they are the appropriate agency with the appropriate capacity because these are obviously quite complex investigations that AUSTRAC has the capacity to monitor. Certainly the Commissioner's view is that they are the appropriate agency to continue and finalise those investigations and then ultimately to report on them. And until we see a final report, or the Commissioner sees a final report, he's decided after discussion with AUSTRAC to leave his review or put his review on hold until AUSTRAC have completed their negotiations. But coming back to the issue of that deal 7 years ago, I can't offer any more detail, I guess, because I had no direct knowledge of the discussions.
The Honourable Mr Simms as a supplementary.
Thank you. Noting the Treasurer's response, will the Treasurer be making inquiries to satisfy this Parliament that the relevant rules were complied with by Sky City Adelaide, and in particular to ensure that no laundered money was involved with that payment?
Treasurer.
Mr President, well, I can certainly seek advice from those who were around 7 years ago, Mr President, those who have had the responsibility for monitoring whatever arrangement was entered into. So that would obviously be the Commissioner potentially, and so I'll seek advice and bring back any answer that they might be able to provide in relation to the source of any money that was paid to the former Labor government or under the former Labor government, Mr President. As to whether that was laundered money or not, I'm not sure. I'm sure the Commissioner is not in a position to be able to answer that. I think what he's saying is the appropriate agency to continue their investigation on this is AUSTRAC. They've got the capacity to do it. I think they have listed two specific time periods under the well, I think one of them was under the former government. I think one might have been in the first year of the current government that they are investigating in relation to Sky City's operations. I don't think the time periods they refer to go back 7 years. That is the nature of their investigation. So I don't know whether that's because they've looked at it and don't believe there are issues of concern at that particular time, which might be possible, or whether there's some other restriction. I can certainly seek to ascertain as to whether there's any restriction on what AUSTRAC can do. My broad understanding is there's not. That is, if they had concerns about a period of 7 years ago when this deal was done with the former Labor government, I don't believe they're restricted from investigating that, but I can certainly take advice on that, and maybe the Honourable Mr Hunter or the Honourable Mr Maher might be able to throw some light on the arrangements that occurred at that particular time.